Or are you the same as you were, but dressed in different garments? Assassination plots against Fidel Castro, Patrice Lumumba, Papa Doc Duvalier of Haiti. Are you a new and better France, a new and better England, a new and better Germany, a new and better Italy, and a new and better America, that you could sentence another man to death with your history written in the blood of black, brown, red, yellow, and the blood of your own Caucasian people? This is why the Bible calls you the bloodshedder. Have you changed? You have shed the blood of all life without just cause. Are you the protector of the humanitarian rights of the Libyan people with a record? Have you changed? Are you better than you were? Let us see. If Muammar Gaddafi has lost his moral right to lead the Libyan people, let us see what is going on in your countries and ask you the same question. What is your humanitarian record with your own citizens? You great imperial powers. Europe's unemployment right now is at a 12-year high. Unemployment in France is near 10%. Italy and England are near 8%. And Britain has lost close to 1 million youth out of work. Spain has 21% unemployment. That's 5 million jobless. And what about crime? Britain's violent crime record is worse than any other country in the European Union. The UN itself found that the crime rate in England is worse than in America, and both make the crime rate in Libya look almost non-existent. Libya ranks 61 in the world in their incarceration rate. Russia is number 2. The United States of America is number 1. Can you lecture Muammar Gaddafi and call him a madman? Can you lecture Muammar Gaddafi and call him a madman? When if the leader of a country is mad, would not that be reflected in the citizens of that country? In the crime of rape, Sweden, Britain, Belgium, Norway, Israel, Denmark, Spain, France, Russia, Canada, Japan, and Germany all lead Libya. If he has lost the moral right to lead his people, what about you? What about homelessness? The rate in Britain is nearing 8%. In France, they estimate that 200,000 people live on the streets. In America, there are nearly 1 million living under bridges, homeless. We save America for last because America started all this. You are the one that called for such action, and you maneuvered this resolution 1973 through the Security Council and fought for it and were the proudest when it passed. You are the one that called for Gaddafi to step down and leave his country, and you are the first to say that he has lost the moral right to lead Libya, and you are the first to call for his assassination. Well, America, you are hemorrhaging jobs. Nearly 8 million jobs were lost in this latest recession. America now has 15 million unemployed, and when you add to that the underemployed, it comes to nearly 20 million Americans. 44 million Americans now live below the poverty level, and that is rising. A full 1/3 of American families tasted poverty for at least a couple of months last year. That's 100 million Americans. And the number of households collecting emergency food aid is now nearing 6 million. Approximately 1 in 8 American people are using food stamps. 3 million U.S. properties went into foreclosure in 2010 alone, a record high. And the number of families in homeless shelters or forced to live with extended family or friends is nearing 1 million. 50 million Americans have no health insurance, and that's 17% of the total U.S. population. 68 adults in America die each day in the U.S. due to the lack of health insurance. And what about your veterans, America? Those whom you send to fight your unjust wars. How do they fare when they return home? The Pentagon says that 1 in 5 American soldiers are returning from the war zones with some form of traumatic brain injury. Still others suffer emotional trauma. About 130,000 veterans become homeless each year in the United States, and more than half are black and Hispanic. The Veterans Administration estimates that 107,000 veterans are homeless on any given night. Suicide rates, divorce, and drug dependency are alarmingly high and worsening among America's veterans. Your infrastructure is even worse off than your citizens. A full 1/4 of the nation's bridges are structurally dangerous. 7 billion gallons of clean water leak out of your crumbling pipes every day, while billions of gallons of raw sewage pours into your lakes and rivers. According to your engineers, it will take $2.2 trillion to fix this problem. Your record, America, stinks in the nostrils of God. You who, in the name of humanitarian efforts, want to save the population of Libya, save them from whom and from what? How many Libyans are living in poverty? What's the crime rate in Libyan society in comparison to you who condemn Muammar Gaddafi? How many homes has he built for his people? How many of his people are living under bridges? No Libyan lives in poverty, not one. The crime rate in Libyan society is nothing in comparison to those of you who condemn him and his rule of Libya. He has built hundreds of thousands and into the millions of homes for his people. No Libyan is homeless. No Libyan is living under a bridge. Why are you angry with him? What has he done to bring down on him the wrath of the West? Why do you hate Gaddafi? Does he share the wealth of Libya with the poor? Well, if he does, and he does, doesn't that make you, America, look bad? You are the richest nation on the earth, and you've got 44 million people living in poverty, bread lines, food stamps, children suffering in America, but you want to talk to Gaddafi about humanitarian concerns? Gaddafi believes that economic democracy can only be achieved when the GDP of a country benefits all its citizens and when the country's wealth is dispersed to every single citizen. One journalist who lived in Libya wrote of the accomplishments Libya has made under the leadership of Muammar Gaddafi. This journalist is Brother Gerald A. Pereira from Guyana. Listen to what he says and see if you can defeat the truth of what he has said. Number one, Gaddafi nationalized Libya's vast oil resources and used his influence within OPEC to negotiate fairer prices for oil-producing countries. 2, Gaddafi used the oil revenue to build schools, hospitals, universities, and infrastructure. 3, he raised the literacy rate from 20% when he became the leader, and now it is 83%. Libya has one of the finest healthcare systems in the third world. All people have access to doctors, hospitals, clinics, and medicines free of charge. If a Libyan needs surgery that is unavailable in Libya, funding is provided for that surgery to be carried out overseas. He raised the life expectancy from 44 years now to 75. Basic food items were subsidized and electricity was made available throughout the country. He spent billions on the man-made river where his engineers brought water up out of the desert. And now pipelines run from Benghazi and Tobruk almost to the door of Tunisia. This man has set up irrigation projects which were established in order to support a drive toward agricultural development and food self-sufficiency. Any Libyan who wanted to become a farmer was and still is given free use of land, a house, farm equipment, livestock, and seed. Gaddafi vowed that his own parents, who lived in a tent in the desert, would not be housed until every Libyan was housed. He fulfilled that promise. Under Gaddafi, Libya has now attained the highest standard of living in Africa. Listen to this. Money from Libya's oil revenue is deposited into the bank account of every Libyan. Women have full access to education, employment, and he has enabled women to serve in the armed forces. This is most important. Gaddafi was the first and only leader in the Arab world to formally apologize for the Arab role in the trade in captured Africans. Gaddafi acknowledged that the black Africans were the true owners of Libya and proclaimed in his green book, the black race shall prevail throughout the world. Pereira writes, imperialists fear a united Africa which would completely alter the balance of power globally. The well-documented fact is that if Africa stopped the flow of all resources and raw materials to the Western nations for just 1 week, the United States and Europe would grind to a halt.